Hi everyone, my name's Greg. I'm 48 years old and I'm from Kingston, Ontario. The thought never entered my mind about competing in a triathlon of any kind, so I surprised myself when I signed up to compete in a half Ironman. The sport of triathlon never interested me. I was a cyclist. Swimming and running, not a chance. It just wasn't my bag. But on August 29th, 2021, I did exactly what I never envisioned doing, racing and finishing a half Ironman event. I began cycling in high school and loved it. After a lengthy lull, I picked it back up about 15 years ago and started racing in a variety of different events. I was always very passionate about cycling, so it was great to incorporate it back in my life. Then cycling led me to triathlons because of this guy. My best friend, training partner, confidant, and executor of my will, Andrew Beckett. Andrew approached me 4 years ago and asked me to do a sprint triathlon in Sydenham, Ontario. Reluctantly, I said yes. I had 6 weeks to learn to swim and run and get ready to race. I finished that race with Andrew, and that was it. I was hooked. So I raced a few more times over the next couple years, sharing a few of those moments with Andrew. Triathlon brought us closer together, and I was also starting to notice how triathlon was making positive change in my life. In 2019, Andrew and I registered for the Muskoka Ironman. I was pumped, but reluctant, because as much as I was growing to love triathlon, I'm a terrible swimmer, but I told myself I had time to improve. We lost the race season of 2020, and even 2021 was questionable. I was training, but I wasn't doing any key workouts. We got confirmation from Ironman at the end of July that the race was on. I had 5 weeks to really get dialed in and prepare for the day. So it was showtime. Early mornings in a routine that I became programmed in taking part in for the next number of weeks. I found a rhythm and was doing everything right to prepare for the race. And when I wasn't training, I was watching videos, especially about swimming. This was the discipline I was most stressed about, and I needed all the help that I could get. When I wasn't watching videos, I was reading, one book after another, anything that I thought would help me on that big day. But the best book I found to help with the training was Matt Dixon's The Well-Built Triathlete. This book was wicked, it had a lot of great programs, and I strongly recommend picking this one up, especially if you're new to triathlon. So as things were getting closer to the big race, the training continued. I was logging about 9 to 12 hours of training each week. Swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run. You get the picture. I had a lot of time off work during the summer in 2021, and it allowed me to also find the time to cross-train and keep a regular schedule of a stretching and strength training program. I found that this routine was vital for me to keep everything balanced. I wasn't putting in tremendous hours in the gym, but being able to incorporate the strength training and the stretching into my schedule was key. I did most of my training indoors, and I knew I had to get outside and get a feel for the open road again. So I was invited to join Andrew along with a few of his pals on a loop of Desert Lake Road. It's a good ride, just under 100 kilometers, with some serious punchy climbs. I was pretty stoked to get out again, as it had been a while. Andrew rolled in early to pick me up, and away we went. I thought I was ready for it, but when I got home I was a mess. It was this ride that I realized I had some work to do before Muskoka. So I got out on the road a bit more, rain or shine. The other important part of triathlon is nutrition. My wife will tell you that I love to eat, and I won't disagree with her. I love food, but quality food is vital in this sport. My routine on training days was eating a big breakfast. I stayed consistent, didn't mix it up too much, and it worked for me. Now, when I wasn't training or eating, I did have some other responsibilities. I was doing some of this, and a lot of this. Here in Kingston, we are fortunate enough to have a pretty wicked training facility of Carrico Home Field. It's a beauty, and it's a nice change from running in the neighborhood. One thing that I was not doing much of was speed work. I like running, but I'll be honest, not a lover of sprints, even though they are tremendously beneficial. If there's one thing I would change for the next race, it would be more trips to this place. So I was in the water quite a bit, and most of my swims were at Sydenham Lake. It's a great spot to train and easy to get to for an end of the workday training session. But it's also nice to see something different, and that's where having friends with a cottage on a lake comes in handy.
You gonna come swimming? Lake swim.
Hi. Mark. Ribbon Archie. That looks beautiful.
I had a good team on this day. Jake and Ziggy came along for a boat ride, and thank you to Lori Bush for keeping me close to shore as I circled the island. And of course, Lindy doing her thing with the camera. It was a good session. I started off slow, but was in a good place when I finished. For the first time, I felt ready for the swim.
2002.
One to come.
That side of the island was hard.
Race week was upon us. All those months of training and the higher intensity training of the past 5 weeks were now behind me. It was now time to taper, and also time to get the gear and the bike ready for the big dance. I had everything ready to go until I realized I had a rear derailleur issue. I have to give kudos to Rick's Bike Repair here in Kingston. A quick call in a panic, an unexpected trip to the store, and Rick managed to sneak me in and got my bike running just in time. Thanks, Rick. Now the thing with triathlon is you have a lot of stuff. This is also an overlooked part of the preparation process to the world of triathlon. This is another discipline all on its own. What I learned was that there was really no difference between prepping your gear from a sprint tri to a half Ironman. I laid it all out, took a few extra things to be sure I would have it, and I took a deep breath and packed it all up. This is a step where you want to take your time and triple check. You don't want to forget anything at this point. It was time to hit the road, and we had an amazing day to travel. Of course, I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you're going to enter the world of triathlon, you need to have a support system. And that I got in this beauty right here. Alicia's my wife, best friend, and my biggest support. She's been with me not only through my journey in triathlon, but everything else life has thrown at us over the last 11 years. There hasn't been many events I've done that she's missed, and I couldn't do any of this without her. So, to show her my gratitude, we made a couple quick stops at Bosch Kong and Lake of Bay Brewery. Have to treat my biggest fan the best way possible with quality beer. We had a chance to drive into Muskoka on the bike route, and I must say I was a bit intimidated. I knew it was hilly, but I didn't feel that my training had prepared me well enough for the climbs that I saw. This was going to be a tough bike ride. We made it to Huntsville and immediately checked out the Summit Center to see where all the fun was going to begin on Sunday. I started to feel a bit nervous, but also pretty excited. We just walked around, and for me to get the lay of the land of a course is key. We spent about half an hour here, and it helped me get my bearings about the course. Seeing it early prepared me for what I was in for on Sunday morning. So the nerves were starting to kick in here, and after seeing all the other participants and the bikes being staged, it made me realize that this was actually happening. It took a bit to get situated in the transition area as I was trying to determine which row was going to be the best place for me not to forget where my bike was after the swim. The forecast said rain overnight and in the morning, which wasn't great news. Once I wrapped everything up, it was connecting with Andrew and Brennan, another fella from Kingston competing. We met for a quick pick together at the finish line, and from there it was one last quick recon in the water just to get a feel.
Unfortunately, it is race morning with this shitty weather. Hopefully it clears up by 8:20 a.m.
I woke this morning feeling shockingly relaxed, but when I got to the race, I was a bit frazzled and I had a hard time getting organized in transition and remembering how to put my wetsuit on. From here it was the lonely walk down to the swim entrance. There was a lot going on in my head at this point, including, don't forget how to swim. Even though the weather was sucking, people were out, and it was so nice to see it after being shut down for so long. There was a lot of participants, and it was amazing to see, and you could tell everyone was just itching to get going.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So we were off. Ironman Muskoka had officially started. Now it was just a bit of a wait to get into the water. And as nervous as I was in the transition getting ready, a lot of those nerves went away leading into the lake. That to me was a sign that I was ready to go. The first few minutes of the swim, I felt a bit concerned my old habits of panic in the water were going to come back, but I found a rhythm and made it my goal to just keep that pace to the end. And it worked. The part that I dreaded the most was the part that I had the greatest sense of success in. Andrew climbed out of the water a few minutes before me, but I had my best lake swim ever, and when I exited the water and saw my time, I shocked myself. Finally, after 4 years of training, I proved to myself that I could swim. I was off to a good start. The bike was also an experience, as we had a bit of everything thrown at us, from heavy rains and a brief thunderstorm. Andrew and I somehow rolled into the transition literally at the same time, which was humorous as it was unplanned. The ride was tough, brutal weather, lots of climbing, but now was going to be the real test, the ride. When I came into transition, I struggled. I was more mentally exhausted than I thought, and it took me a second to realize I hadn't taken my helmet off. During the ride, I had gripped my bar so tight that when I went to tie my shoes, I struggled. My fingers just wouldn't work. It was evident real quick that physically I was off too. When I went to run, I felt like I was wearing bricks for shoes. This was going to be a tough run.
Go, Greggy!
Once I left transition, I knew that the next couple hours were going to be tough. We reconned the course on the bike the day before, and there was barely a stitch of flat terrain. This was going to be brutal.
Go, Greggy. Good
And I was right, it was brutal. When I came into the turn to take my second lap, I wanted to quit. When I decided to keep going, the sirens of an approaching police car sent people scrambling a bit. It took a little bit to get my bearings again to brace myself for 10 more kilometers of torture.
Good job, Andrew.
I can't knock my videographer for the awesome job she did capturing me during the race. And she got a quality image of Andrew crossing the finish line. But like all the participants, the spectators also had a full day. Her slip-up of catching me cross the finish line couldn't be helped. At least she tried. Thank goodness Melissa Beckett, Andrew's wife, was on hand to grab a still pic.
Good job.
Holy shit.
You did
Want
it.
to walk with me?
Yep.
And just like that, it was done. It was an amazing experience, and I look forward to doing it again. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it encourages others to give it a try. I could barely run 4 years ago, and I couldn't swim one lap in a pool without grabbing the ledge. Anyone can do this, and I mean anyone. If you're up to a challenge, challenge yourself and give triathlon a go. Like I was told in my first race, be careful, it's addicting. It's true. Give it a try, and you'll see for yourself.